and she was very closely tied into Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott. This is her home, and she was born to an activist Quaker family who, from a very young age, encouraged her to fight against the injustices of slavery, and this kind of inspired her eventual fighting. This is just freaking out. Inspired her. Okay, I'm just kidding. Inspired her to go against the injustices she saw in women's rights.
Just ignore it, Andrew. Keep on keeping on.
Alright. And her family lost all of their money in the Panic of 1837, which forced her out into the workplace at a very young age, where she saw the inequalities of wages and rights of women. That inspired her to become a feminist and join the women's suffrage movement that was already in place by Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She formed the National American Women's Suffrage Association, which was a group of women that was, or a group of men and women, I guess, that was trying to get equal voting rights for women during this time. And she joined Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott to form the State Temperance Society. And then when she realized, that was to inhibit the consumption of alcohol. And then after she formed that, she realized how limited their power was because they didn't have the right to vote. So she directed all of her attention towards getting women the right to vote. And she formed the National American Women's Suffrage Association in 1869. And tried to just go in and vote at a, I don't know whose election it was, but in 1872 tried to just go in and vote at the election and actually voted, and then there was a warrant issued for her arrest, and she was fined $100, didn't pay it. She was kind of a bit of a rebel. It was pretty interesting, I thought. She didn't really change the ideology of the movement very much, but just kind of took up a leadership role in the movement that Lucretia and Elizabeth Cady Stanton had already set in place. And there was a lot of resistance for the movement. She actually was in a Supreme Court case, U.S. versus Susan B. Anthony, which was when she was charged with unlawful voting. She took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And she used the vagueness in, or the lack of gender specification in the 14th Amendment to justify her right to vote. And Susan B. Anthony had a quote that said, "Failure is impossible," which I thought was kind of funny because she wasn't really successful in her lifetime completely. I mean, she did have some great successes, but women didn't get the right to vote until 14 years after her death, even though she did play a really